In this video, I'm going to walk you through the vocal tools, including the live looper and the vocal effects. To start with, the vocal channel, much like the melody and guitar channels, uses the clips you can see in the session view here, or access on the push here, to switch between the different vocal presets. Now, these vocal presets are essentially EQ and compression settings, with a little distortion in some cases, that I've set up for common use cases. Now, I've designed these around my microphone, which happens to be a Shure SM7B, and my voice, which is fairly baritone, and so I need to push the high frequencies a bit. You're going to want to adjust these EQ curves for your own voice and your own microphone, whatever that happens to sound like. So, by default, if you hit these gray, or on the push they're kind of a pale fawn color, that disables the vocal mic completely, which mutes it, preventing feedback and unwanted noise from creeping into your set. Now, if I launch the blue, yellow, or orange clips, it will switch the vocal mic on with a different effects preset on it. Now, when I do this, it's going to start routing the audio through Ableton, and so the way my voice sounds is going to change a little. Firstly, this is the clean channel, the blue one. This is what the clean channel sounds like. I can't really sing, so you're just going to have to deal with me talking. This is the warm channel, which adds a little bit of a saturation to make things sound slightly 70s. And this is the dirty channel. Now, the dirty channel is designed to break up if I sing loudly, which is super useful for industrial music, some rock and roll, some blues, other dirtier styles of music. And then to switch the microphone back off, we go like so, and it disables the input through Ableton. Now, let's break this vocal channel down and have a look at how it works. If we open it up, because it's a group, you see we have these 4 channels here. Now, these 4 channels are looper channels. If you look at the push, you can see when the vocal channel is collapsed, we have access to everything we need, just neatly laid out in the push. But if we open the vocal channel, the 4 right-hand columns of the push are ready to record. They become looper channels. Now, to explain how this works, I'm going to pop open the I/O options in Ableton, because it's a little fiddly. What we've got here is each of these channels is pulling audio from channel 2 on my sound card, which is where this microphone is plugged in. Now, you'll see that each of them is set to monitor off. What this means is they'll never directly play the audio through. You can see they're muted. If I had monitor on, I would get 4 copies of the audio coming through, which would be no good. You'll also see that the tracks have been set to record ARM down here. This allows you to actually record into the clip slots. An important note, it's very easy to accidentally disable record ARM, because by default, Ableton has exclusive arms set on. What this means, if you arm any channel, it'll unarm all the other channels. So you want to make sure to turn off exclusive arming, and that way these arms will stay on even if I accidentally arm another channel I didn't mean to. Now, to record, I'm going to use a preset to actually turn on the vocal mic. So now I've turned on the clean channel, and I'm going to turn on a metronome and use my mediocre singing skills to demonstrate to you how to loop sounds together. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Now, if I want to delete these clips again, it's very simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4. So that's how you use the vocal looping. If you want to do some beatboxing or some Reggie Watts style stuff, that's your friend. Next up, we have this channel here, which is where the vocal effects actually happen. I'm going to disable the I/O here, but you'll see it's just monitoring the audio in. So as long as one of these effects is enabled, I can sing straight into the mic, no problem. Now, the way this rack works is a little fiddly, so bear with me while I walk you through it. Obviously, as I said, these off clips disable the mic completely, and then I can select between the 3 different sounds. Now, you'll see that these clips look dark gray, That's because monitor is set to N, so they'll never actually play audio. But if you look in the right-hand menu here, you'll see that each of them has a color selected, which shows up here and also shows up on the push, so you can see which preset you're selecting. Now, what happens here is we have a vocal pre-processing audio effect rack. If we open that rack, we will see two things. One, this vocal chains rack that's inside it. Two, an EQ8. Now the EQ8 is just a standard low cut. This removes like sub and rumble from your vocal mic, and something every live mic in a show will always have. Not something you need to think about. After that, you have the vocal chains. And if I open the chain selector or the chains here, you'll see I have an off chain, a warm chain, a slightly driven chain, which is this drive, and what I've called here a pure chain, but I'm going to call it now a clean chain, so it matches up with the clip here. Now, there are two little things with MIDI mapping that you have to do to get this working. The first is, if we open the chain selector here, you'll see that each of these chains occupies one space in the chain selector, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Now remember that we always start from 0 with the chain selector, so your fourth chain will be at position 3, and so on. Now, what this means is that this chain selector control will switch between the different effects. This moves us to the driven sound, the clean sound, the warm sound. And obviously, you could add as many chains as you want for different effects presets. So that's almost everything you need to know. There's one more little thing inside this rack, and then we'll look at these clips themselves. So if we can hide that chain selector for now, but we pop open the rack here, you'll see that the slightly driven chain contains yet another audio effect rack. I know it's very Inception-y, you'll get used to it. If you pop open that audio effect rack, you'll see an EQ, a compressor, and then a little bit of digital clipping, which gives us that nice overdrive. Now, if you wanted to change the way this works, change the EQ settings, replace any of the effects, put some third-party effects in here, you could just drag and drop and edit anything inside this rack. And collapse that back down. The important thing here is that the on-off control for the entire rack has been mapped to the chain selector macro control here. If we open up the mapping settings and open our browser, we can see all of the mappings to this control. Now, you'll know or you'll remember that slightly driven is at position 3 in the chain selector. What we want to do is make it so that the rack, the audio effect rack here, is only enabled when the chain selector is at position 3. The way we do that is by mapping the device on and setting the min and max both to the same number, in this case 3. What this says is that if the value of the chain selector knob here is below 3, this rack will be turned off, and if it's above 3, it will also be turned off. Now we've done the same thing here for the clean channel, and the same thing here for the warm channel. So if you wanted to add a fourth channel, you could do something like this. Create a chain. I'm going to call it demo chain. We're going to open the chain selector. We're going to move it to position 4. We're going to add an audio effect rack. Oops. Like so. We're going to map that audio effect rack to the chain selector. We're going to go into our mapping settings, and we're going to change it 4 and 4. Now, whenever the chain selector is at 4, this audio effect rack turns on, and you can put any audio effects you want inside it. Now, the last piece of the puzzle is how these clips actually change which effects rack has been selected. Now, this is simple. You just want to click this, that automatically makes sure it's selected when you load the clip. And go to one of the clips, open the envelopes. You see in the drop-down, our vocal preprocessing vocal chains rack is selected, and then the chain selector parameter is selected. You'll see that this has an automation curve that moves that to position 2. So what's happening is each time I launch one of these clips, you can see the position of the chain selector moving. One last little detail with these clips, I want them to turn on instantly when I hit them, and I want them to turn off instantly. I don't need them to stay there looping. So what I've done is put them in quantization none down here in our launch mode setting, rather than using the global quantization up here. And I put them into launch mode gate, which means they'll keep playing as long as I hold them down, but they'll turn off again afterwards. So that is how to use the clips to switch between different effects racks inside a audio effect channel like this. I'm going to switch the microphone back off, like so. Now this technique is used in a very similar form on the melody and guitar channels, which we'll explain in later videos. Lastly, if we zoom out and collapse the vocal group again, I'm going to select a vocal sound, in this case the clean. Now we can look at the vocal effects. Some of these are really self-explanatory. We have reverb, we have a low pass filter, like so, low, high. And we have a delay. Now you'll note that these effects, even though they're in an audio effect rack, are actually going through to the sends over here. So if I send some audio through the delay, you can see it coming through the delay here. Now the way that works is a little complicated, but if we pop open this rack here, you'll see that we have a delay send ninja, I've called it. There's a dry signal, and then there's a 2 delay signal. Now this channel, this chain inside this rack, is muted, you'll see here, so it never produces any audio. It just has a utility plugin that rolls the volume from 0 down to -35, and when the delay knob is at 0, it mutes this chain entirely. So basically means here, just after this utility plugin, there is no audio all the way through to all the audio. Same thing for the reverb rack. It's exactly the same setup, but called reverb instead of delay. Now, how does the audio get through to the delay channel or the reverb channel? Well, that's where we pop open this utility, and we'll see this Vox to delay channel I have here. That is taking input from the vocal channel, and then in Ableton you can actually select where you're taking the audio from, anywhere inside a rack. So you can see vocal effects, chain, delay send ninja, 2 delay, post effects, and that means it's taking it from that chain, the 2 delay chain, directly after the utility. Monitor is set to in, audio is set to sends only, and then it's going straight through to send C, which is the delay. What this means is that as I bring up the delay, this channel grabs the audio from inside that rack and sends it straight through to the send. You can see I've done that in a few places in this template. It's a very useful technique for having control of your sends from an audio effect rack. Beyond these fairly basic vocal effects, I've got some weird stuff. Down on the bottom left here, I have a chorus control. Now, at low levels, this is a pretty standard sounding chorus, like so. But if you turn it up high enough, it starts to get really weird. Singing. It's a really fun effect. I like how you can destroy the vocals with it. Up on the top right of the rack, we have what I call the Robot Evil rack, which is a frequency shifter. Sounds like this. Testing, 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 testing. And you can reset that at 0. After that, we've got the rolls and the wubs. Evil rolls, evil wubs. The wubs are basically an LFO on this Robot Evil parameter here, so you can have it automatically move. If you turn it up like this, you can hear it moves. The rolls program just controls the speed. We have a dry wet control on that whole effect. It's one of my favorite vocal effects, especially for more electronic or weird sounding music. So that's it for the vocal track. We've covered looping and how to access the looping from the push itself. We've covered the vocal mic presets and how you can set up your own presets or modify the presets that I've given you, how to switch between them. And lastly, we've covered this global audio effect rack, including the trick I use to make this reverb and this delay macro control actually send to ascend over here. Thank you very much.